Hello. Woo! Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm going to try this chant. I think it's going to really be kind of amazing. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. That's right. This here is we the people. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you everybody who's standing. We appreciate you. Thank you everyone who's been trying to find places to park. I want to thank all the voters and constituents here. I also want to thank the elected officials who are here and the former elected officials. I want to thank the folks at Valleydale Ballroom. They have been amazing. This is a wonderful place, and thank you so much. Just a couple more thank yous. I want to thank Indivisible National, which really helped us a lot with this event, and a couple of individuals, Rick Neal and some others who helped us. Everyone who's chipped in 1 hour or 100 hours or 1,000 hours, everyone who's chipped in $5 or $500, you guys are all part of this. We really appreciate it. It's an amazing communal effort. You see all the folks in our orange shirts. Everyone has been working hard, and thank you so much. So it's a privilege to be in a room with you guys, with all of you people who believe in democracy, who care about freedom, who care about civil rights, who care about science, who care about human equality, kindness, sanity, America. We're here because we recognize this is an unprecedented moment in the history of this country. This shit is not normal. It is not normal, and it's terrible. We're here because we care, we love our country, and we understand that democracy is not a spectator sport, and we're here to take action. And I just want to introduce you just for 2 seconds to Indivisible Central Ohio. We're all about action. How do you engage with us? You subscribe to our newsletter, you check out our website, you go to our link tree. You've got all those links on your handout. You should be able to get them. If the Wi-Fi is slow, you can do it when you're home. Take an action. Before you leave today, I'm absolutely sure you will have signed up to come to a rally or to hold a banner over a highway. We know you're going to be there with us. We need you. It's important. It makes a difference if 2 people are standing on a highway trying to make change. It's not the same as 50 people every day. You guys are the 50 people. So we will have some action breaks. We'll have times for you to sign up for things. We also have a hashtag. It's on there. It's hashtag ICO Town Hall. If you want to take a picture at any point, post it on social media with that hashtag. We appreciate it. So where are we right now? Where are we right now? Firings, fear, funding cuts, corruption, cruelty, targeting, moral collapse, a president who is an extortionist in chief. This is the greatest threat to our republic since the Civil War. And where are our senators? Why are they MIA in our country's hour of need? Do they care? Do we care? Yes, we do care. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to my buddy and my friend, Ann Schroyer. She's going to tell us where we're at, and we're going to get this program rolling.
All right, most of you know this, but here's what we have facing us. Violent insurrectionists pardoned. Thousands of government employees illegally fired by algorithm, implemented by an unelected son of apartheid who has not been approved by the Senate and has security clearance. Thousands of other government employees, like our own local Columbus area Defense Department employees, waiting to hear what will happen to their jobs. A vaccine denier in charge of a massive measles outbreak, a wrestling exec in charge of destroying public education. That one might make sense. The doggy department run amok in our personal data and government contracts, going to a man who has government contracts and wastes our money exploding rockets. Decorated officers in the military who are black, brown, queer, and women are being fired for no cause, while a talk show host runs the Department of Defense. Histories of the Holocaust, Black history, women's history, and LGBTQ history erased from federal websites. I won't take the booze personally. The USAID program destroyed, farmers left with no place to sell grain, federal contracts and grants frozen, leaving Ohio companies and universities without needed millions for research, programming, and investment. We have threats to Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and now Social Security. The president is importing alleged rapists from Romania, wants domestic abusers to get their guns back, wants to put a resort in Gaza while removing millions of humans who call it home. Across the country, midwives are being arrested, legal residents are being disappeared. Budget resolutions that will destroy our parklands and ways of life passed with nary a whimper. Our federal dollars for public education are being cut in a state that funds private schools instead of public schools. And no on SB 1. Those hurting are being mocked. Chainsaws are being raised overhead in displays of hubris and hate. Bodies of water renamed at no one's request. And rights trampled at every turn. What should we do? Who should we turn to for help to reestablish the rule of law? Where are our senators and congresspeople from the legislative branch? We need them to fight. We need them to fight for us, for all Ohioans. Thank you. And with that, Meryl is going to come up and get us moving.
All right. So before I start, I do want to take a moment of personal privilege and just give a thanks to Mia, who spearheaded this whole effort while overseas, supposedly on vacation. So I know she'll be embarrassed by this, but cheers to you, Mia. But now this is the heart of our town hall, right? This is where we get a chance to hear from our representatives, our members of Congress. So super exciting time. Unfortunately, Congressman Kerry declined our invitation. Congresswoman Beatty was also unable to join us because she had a previous engagement, but she did send a statement. And so I'm going to invite one of her constituents up, Benita Khan, who's going to read that on her behalf.
Okay, before I start, I want to make sure you all understand that Congresswoman Beatty would have read this or presented this with much more passion and power, but I'm going to give it a try. So, good afternoon, everyone, and this is me. Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I could not attend the Indivisible Central Ohio Town Hall today due to a national event conflict. Otherwise, I would be there in person. Thank you, the entire Indivisible Central Ohio team, for taking the reins to create an outlet where constituents can make their voice heard. Town halls like these are the backbones of democracy. I held my own in February, where we got to hear your questions and concerns in response to the Trump administration's latest destruction. You, Ohioans, are the reason I'm able to be in Congress and advocate for Columbus and Central Ohioans, so thank you. Even though I couldn't be there today, I want to pass along a vital message. I hear you, we hear you, Democrats hear you. So many of you have called my office, sent letters, emails, posted on social media, and more, pleading with us to act. We see it all, and we're hard at work to protect your hard-earned freedoms and resources. We will definitely pass this along, so let me tell you what the Congresswoman had to say, and we will pass your information along. Personally, like you, I am frustrated and even angry with the Trump-Musk administration, but please know I am actively involved in speaking out, protesting with other Democrats in DC, and strategizing behind the scenes. I'll keep it real. The first couple of months of this administration have been horrific for hardworking Americans. Sweeping attempts to purge our non-political federal workforce, destroy and dismantle diversity, inclusion, and equity programs across America, and threats to slash earned benefits and much-needed resources like Social Security and Medicaid. For those of us on Social Security, we are all very concerned about this. And all of it, that was from me, not her, and all of it representing a rapid degradation of our democracy. But I won't go down without a fight. I have spoken out and stood for employees and protesters at HUD, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, known as CFPB, the Treasury Department, and even on the US Capitol steps. As we speak, we're hard at work organizing, flooding the zone, spreading the word, and fighting back with legislation and litigation that keeps your rights, freedoms, and resources intact. I agree. Let's continue town halls like this one, and she says that she will also. Let's protest peacefully and call all the Ohio delegation and tell them to do their job. So that means call everyone from the Ohio delegation, including Mike Carey, including our senators, and to stand against hatred and partisan pressures. A lot of us have been down at Marino's office every Wednesday, and we would certainly welcome all of you to join us. Even when it's cold, even when it's raining, we are down there trying to get in to see him. You can schedule appointments with Marino, with his staff, not with him, from 10 to noon on Wednesdays. Of course, it's only once a week, but that's something. And of course, Houston doesn't even have offices yet in Ohio. So let me continue with what our Congresswoman Beatty had to say. Let's protest peacefully and call all the Ohio delegation, tell them that to do their job and to stand against hatred and partisan pressures. Tell them we must stand together against the strong arming of the Trump administration. Tell them we must protect the people that elected them to serve in the first place. Thank you, and please feel free to follow me on social media. That's not me. For updates and what I'm doing to stand with you. So the fight continues. God bless you, and I'm Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and I approve this message.
Well, I think she probably heard that message. Guys, there's a car that left the engine running in the parking lot. It's a maroon Jeep, and the license plate is MFGN USA. So if you have a maroon Jeep, your engine is running.
All right. So I know we're a little frustrated with our members of Congress, but now we get to talk with our esteemed senators, who should be arriving shortly.
Meryl, actually, they never responded to our invitations. And we have all these people here. We can't keep them waiting. The senators may never show up. Didn't you have a backup plan?
Oh, yes. I'm doing double duty. I am tax support as well. And as we know, with technology, we can accomplish anything. So, how about we ask our questions to ChatGPT?
Are you sure about that? What if it sounds smarter than the senators?
Shoot. Well, look on the bright side. At least we'll get answers to some of our questions. And we had so many of them submitted, I had to whittle them down to just the few that were really on the most people's minds. So I think it's worth a shot. We got to at least give them something. So I'm gonna type the first question into to ChatGPT. So the first question was, what has the impact been on Ohioans as a result of the federal job firings, and what can we expect going forward if these firings continue?
Jobs have been eliminated, impacting the state's economy and increasing unemployment. Military-related cuts could threaten Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, a key economic driver in Dayton. The IRS has also faced reductions, leading to longer wait times and disruptions in taxpayer services. If these cuts continue, Ohioans can expect further economic strain, decreased consumer spending, and increased pressure on state-funded programs.
That's depressing, but actually more informative than anything the senators have ever said.
Yeah, this is going great. It's going great. Woo! So the next question for our senators was, what will the impact be on Ohio as a result of the elimination and reduction in federal grant funding?
We might be waiting here for a while for an answer. It may never come.
Oh, no worries. We'll just hit up ChatGPT again.
The reduction and elimination of federal grant funding will have significant financial repercussions for Ohio, particularly for major research institutions like Ohio State University and Nationwide Children's Hospital, which rely heavily on federal grants to support medical and scientific advancements. A loss of funding could lead to job cuts, hinder groundbreaking research, and weaken Ohio's position as a leader in biomedical innovation. Additionally, reduced healthcare grants may limit access to critical services, disproportionately affecting low-income Ohioans and worsening health disparities. The long-term impact could stifle scientific progress, driving top researchers and healthcare professionals out of the state and diminishing Ohio's ability to compete in an increasingly innovation-driven economy.
The senators still aren't here. Are we just going to talk to AI this whole time?
Well, didn't you have another backup plan?
I did. Let's hear from some constituents who wanted to share their stories and questions with the senators. Starting with Leah Hackelman-Good. Leah.
Okay, so to make it out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, I did all the right things as a mostly straight white girl. I graduated from an inner city high school. I won a big university scholarship, and then I earned a couple of more degrees after that. After that, I went to work as a technical writer, and I've been doing that for about 30 years. I'm Leah Hackelman-Good, and I live in Fairfield County. So I cooperated fully in my life to get to the aspired middle class. I did everything right, from the education to working in corporations, and the resulting Dr. Leah seems like kind of a typical white old lady. But on the other side is Leah, the punk kid from Fort Wayne, Indiana, from a single-parent home on the south side of Fort Wayne. Now, that doesn't sound like much to Ohio people, but the south side of Fort Wayne is halfway between the south side of Chicago and the south side of Detroit. And those highways moved all kinds of traffic. In 8th grade, my best friend had a Pinto. We drove to junior high drinking screwdrivers in the morning. Where 13-year-olds were having babies and going to parenting class. So this Fort Wayne Leah, she really wants to fuck everything up. I want to be completely ungovernable. I want to be totally uncooperative because I'm fucking mad as hell. But right now, I'm kind of a divided Leah because Dr. Leah is saying, hey, you know what? We need to encourage people to vote. We need to register people. We need to call our representatives who never answer their fucking phone. We need to visit their offices, and I need to work for the Democratic Party. I'm vice chair in Fairfield County because what is now passing for the federal government has laid off about 62,530 workers in the last 2 months. And our representatives, including mine, Troy Balderson, they totally ignore this fact and how it affects Ohio. Those numbers don't even include how these illegal cuts trickle down to the states and the counties and their economies, or how it affects employees in Ohio who work for federal contractors, like me. I've been working for Mathematica Policy Research since 2005, and I joined them full-time in August of 2023. Mathematica is an employee-owned research organization. About 1,800 people worked there at the beginning of January. So Mathematica has lost about $200 million alone this year from federal canceled contracts. But wait, that's not the full story. 2 years ago, Mathematica's website described its mission as data, analysis, and insight for a more equitable and just world. Now wait, I believed in that mission actually, but now they just changed it at the beginning of March. Now it's evidence-based solutions to optimize programs and policies for, wait for it, efficiency, cost savings, and measurable impact. So that mission statement changed during the week of March 3rd at the time that it laid off a third of its employee-owned resources workforce, including me. They didn't just lay us off because they lost federal contracts. They added this insult to injury. They cooperated and obeyed in advance. Meanwhile, I have a severance letter that says that I have to sign away my rights to talk about my situation or have any legal action for 2 fucking weeks of pay. Sorry for dropping the F-bombs for those of you who annoyed, but I am 60 damn years old. Am I really gonna start a new career? Am I really gonna go through another bout of education and get the 5th degree? Probably not, but what I do have now is time, and I have time to make a sustained fuss, both against my former both against my cowardly representatives, including Troy, and against my former employer. I have the time and the energy to not cooperate. Dr. Leah needs to find a job. Fort Wayne Leah is angry and afraid and wants to burn this shit down. So my middle path, because I'm Buddhist curious, is non-cooperation. In big ways and in small ways, because I believe in it. Right now, I'm balancing these 2 parts. That's why I'm engaged in constant pestering of the HR people in Mathematica, relentlessly emailing them with suggestions for what they can do with their severance letter, and for this federal contractor whose proposals that I edited and wrote always exclaimed how tight their security was. They send me an unprotected PDF document to sign, and guess what? I've changed it. Just a little. So these are little things, but they add up, every fucking one of us. What are you doing, empty chair representatives? Not even the little things. What are we doing, my sister non-cooperative beings? We need to do a lot of things. We have power, and our networks have power. The one thing that I know is that I'm not alone, you're not alone, and we're not alone here. So thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. You're going to make me cry. Next up, Karen Adams.
Well, I want to say I'm going to keep all my clothes on because after I was getting worried. I am honored to read a letter that was written by someone affected by the federal job cuts. Okay, is that better? Sorry. I'm honored to be reading a letter written by the spouse of a federal employee. They are too afraid to stand up here by themselves and be known. I'm writing this as the spouse of a federal employee. I wish that I could personally make this statement, or better yet, I wish that federal employees could speak for themselves. But they are operating in a hostile environment now, afraid to attract unwanted attention or give anyone reason to unjustly fire them. I wish I could proudly tell you about the work that my federal employees and their agency does, about their singular focus on the common good and their efforts to protect communities and build a safer, more hopeful future. But that work is less valued now. Grant payments are frozen and projects are held in limbo with unknown fates, needing to be scrubbed clean of banned words to have any hope of moving forward. The post-inauguration attack on the federal workforces was immediate and immense. The repeated memos issued by the Office of Personnel Management were both degrading and untrue in their references to the integrity and work ethic of its employees, many of whom are top professionals in their fields. Memos were followed by HR emails of a similar tone. Everyone received notification that diversity, equity, and inclusion activities were strictly prohibited. They had 10 days to report any employees not following this directive. And a failure to report would have adverse consequences. The Equity Task Force on which my spouse served was immediately disbanded. They nervously held one last emotional meeting to say tearful goodbyes and to wish each other luck in the upcoming months. Soon, the fork in the road emails followed. This supposed buyout offered employees full pay and benefits through September if they resigned by a quickly approaching deadline. Chaos and confusion followed as the validity and legality of the offer was questioned. The fork in the road emails came daily, usually in the evening, in what felt like a strategic move to constantly stay inside the heads of federal employees. At first, the emails were both insulting and absurd, framing the buyout as an opportunity to get better, more productive jobs in the private sector, or to have your dream vacation while on an administrative leave. Over time, they became threatening. Take this offer because your job is going to be miserable and will probably fire you anyway. People were asked to make life-changing, heartbreaking decisions with little clarity and little time. Then came the indiscriminate mass firings. Thousands of probationary employees let go and then rehired in an agonizing back and forth that was played out in the courts and the headlines. My spouse woke up each morning, unsure who would be left to report to work that day, worried about the well-being of valued colleagues, and anxious about the ability to provide critical services with the rapidly shrinking workforce. Because terminated employees were almost immediately locked out of the system at the advice of union and lawyers, people at all levels hurriedly downloaded personnel files, performance evaluations, pay stubs, anything that might be useful to the unemployment or in future lawsuits. And now the reduction in force, or RIFs, R-I-Fs, are here. Phase 1 plans are submitted and Phase 2 plans are due in April. My spouse's agency has not yet released their plan, but it's clear that thousands more will be terminated. At this point, we are just waiting, wondering who and what will survive the RIF, and if anything or anyone can stop this attack. I could go on with more examples like the rollout of the "What 5 Things Did You Do Last Week" program, or the ongoing return to office fiasco, but it's all just more of the same, constant confusion and intimidation. For federal employees and their families, the last 2 months have been filled with chaos, confusion, fear, anger, and profound sadness. My spouse has found some comfort and safe haven in apps that allow secure, encrypted communication. In these group chats, federal employees are mourning, consoling, advising, sharing information, and organizing. I am grateful for the way that the workforce has come together to support each other in these unprecedented times. I'm amazed by their resilience and how, despite the chaos and intimidation, they continue to do their jobs. Their meetings now typically start with the acknowledgement of the situation and a quick check-in to see how everyone is holding up. Then they get down to business at hand, and the business at hand matters. It really matters. Our federal workforce conducts life-saving scientific research, provides health care for veterans, ensures the safety of our food, conserves our natural resources, and protects communities from wildfire and natural resources, among many other things. Please stand with them and fight to protect their services. And now Arnold Scott for AFGE.
Good afternoon, everyone. As an ex-federal employee, a disabled veteran, and a union member, I'm mad as hell. The fact that this administration, which is made up of billionaires, has did an all-out attack on federal workers is a disgrace. These employees are dedicated workers, and they just want to be able to serve you, the taxpayers, without all of the politics. They are your next-door neighbors, they're your church members, they're your friends. How about these same billionaires paying their taxes? When they cut the number of employees at various agencies, actually what they're doing is they're cutting the services that the taxpayers get. When you cut the VA, you cutting the veterans. I mean, you want to stand up and you want to talk about how you support the veterans, and then you want to cut the veterans. When you cut them, that translates into this taking longer for them to receive the services that they're entitled to. When you cut education, you hurt our kids. No more grants. You kill the Head Start program, and no more programs for disabled kids. I mean, once again, it translates into cuts for us. When you try to privatize the Postal Service, you affect our mail deliveries, and the cost goes up. It doesn't make things better for the taxpayers. It only benefits those billionaires that might get a contract. And it's the same for TSA. You know, when you contract out and you take away collective bargaining rights from TSA, what does that do? Nothing to make travel safer for the American public or those of us who fly. I want to end this by telling you a story. But first of all, I need to tell you what agencies AFGE represents. We represent every federal agency within the federal government except for the Postal Service and the IRS, which is 800,000 federal workers. I want to end by telling you about an employee who was a probationary employee that had an exceptional rating, and she was terminated. She was terminated, and in her termination letter, it says she was terminated for poor performance. And she had an exceptional rating. When she went to apply for unemployment, she was told that they couldn't give her unemployment because they didn't have any paperwork to show that she had been terminated. So she went back to HR and she tried to get some paperwork to show that she was terminated, and they told her they couldn't give it to her because they didn't terminate her. So then she went to one of the senators, and she asked that senator to help her. And he says, what do you want me to do? No one should have to go through this. Mr. Senator, what we want you to do, we want you to do your job. We want you to represent your constituents, and we want you to defend the Constitution of the United States. That's what we want you to do. Do your job. You know, as an American, and I have to say this, I feel like there's two sets of laws in this country. There's one set of laws for the rich, and there's one set of laws for you and I, and they different. Because if you or I didn't do something that the judge ordered us to do, we know where we'd be. Why not them? Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to take a quick action break. Miraculously, the next slide is going to come up. There we go. So you guys have some postcards. Those are postcards that we are going to collect and deliver to your senators. If you need a postcard or if you need a pen, there's some folks here. We'll give them to you. We also have some pink slips in case there's anybody you feel like firing right now. And we have extra pink slips and extra postcards if you need to take more with you. So if you want to take out your pens and your postcards right now, we have another action as well. So we're going to move one slide ahead. And this is from a federal worker that is organizing for support for federal workers. It's basically you sign up to get an email when they say it's time to go out and strike or rally or protest. So to show your support for federal workers, if you can take out your phones and go to that link or go to that QR code and sign up. If you need pens, if you need postcards, if you want to drop off any postcards you've already written or any of those pink slips, we really do hope you write out pointed questions for your senators and your representatives, and you give those postcards to us before you leave because we will deliver them. So, Yeah, don't forget to put the name. So if you want it to be for Senator Husted, please put Senator Husted at the top. You don't need to put the address. We're going to deliver them. You can, or Senator Moreno, or if it's Representative Mike Carey or Troy Balderson, or maybe we have some Jim Jordan folks here. So sorry. I'm so sorry. And I feel like some of you had a few things you wanted to say to Joyce Beatty as well. So we've got plenty of extra postcards and pink slips, and even if you want to take some and share them with your friends, we have extras you can take on the way out. Thank you so much. We're going to move along, and I am going to introduce Nicole Michaels.
Good afternoon. Don't let me interrupt your writing. Do your writing. You can do two things at once. I'm confident. Good afternoon, senators. Good to see you. Looking good. Looking good. All right. Is this better?
Super close.
I'm going to be really close. Is that better? Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Michaels. I'm a researcher and assistant professor of pediatrics and public health. My remarks today are my own, and I am not speaking on behalf of my employer. My lab's research focuses on preventing injuries and deaths from drug overdoses, child abuse, firearm injuries, and other violent means. These are among the leading causes of death in the U.S., but the government's recent actions involving the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, have left me questioning how long we'll be able to continue our work. The NIH is the largest public funder of biomedical and behavioral health research in the world. Locally, Ohio receives more than $1 billion in NIH research funding annually. This money supports more than 13,000 jobs across the state. The federal government does not give out its research dollars freely. It takes months of teamwork to put together a high-quality funding proposal, and the review process is multi-layered and it's rigorous. For those of you who are not fortunate enough to live with a scientist, let me tell you that grant funding has a way of taking over your whole life. I have written grant research proposals while my babies were asleep on my lap. I've written grant proposals during holidays and vacations, and in the wee hours of the morning while my family was asleep. Honestly, it's exhausting. But without that money, we can't do the work that saves lives. We can't find ways to prevent injuries and violence. We can't find cures for cancer or treatments for depression, heart disease, stroke, and we can't pay staff or run our labs. The federal grant funding system is not perfect. Like anything, it has room for improvements, but it has helped make our nation the global leader in health research, and that system is under attack. Simply put, this administration is attempting to dismantle the NIH from the inside out. Research grant opportunities aren't being published. Existing calls for proposals are being rescinded, often after the applications have already been submitted. So imagine you've spent months, you've given up family time, you've given up opportunities to mentor your students because you've got to get this grant out, and they just say, we're not interested in that anymore. Study sections and advisory councils that review funding proposals have been halted, and this is keeping new science from being funded. And perhaps worst of all, every day I hear of another colleague whose research funding from the NIH has been revoked. In official letters that are full of lies and dripping with disdain, they are told that their science is wrong, that it's unimportant, that it is of no value to the American people. A new list of terminated NIH grants was published this week. It includes more than 300 arbitrarily canceled grants that this administration has canceled over the past month. The canceled grants cover topics ranging from suicidality among LGBTQ youth, to drinking water contamination, to preventing the transmission of HIV. Many of these studies are already underway. Some of them have been going on for years, and the funding is being pulled out right from underneath people. For some researchers, this means having to let their staff go suddenly and without warning, and shuttering their labs. And for research that involves human study participants, it also means stopping the interventions unexpectedly, ending cancer trials, and other life-saving treatments, and eroding the public's trust and willingness to participate in future research. So I would really like someone to explain to me, perhaps, how terminating research grants in this way increases government efficiency. These canceled grants represent hours of time and resources squandered, millions of tax dollars wasted on studies that will never be completed. These are our tax dollars, yours and mine. Tax dollars that were designated to research to improve lives. But make no mistake, these cuts will result in lives lost here and around the world. Lives will be lost and people will suffer, especially the most vulnerable among us. That's true. And there will be a ripple effect. Graduate students whose training can no longer be supported by their institutions will move on, and they may leave science altogether. For the past 2 years, my lab has hosted students as part of the National Institute on Drug Abuse's Summer Research Internship Program. The initiative, which has been in place for 28 years, is designed to provide hands-on learning opportunities for students from diverse backgrounds who have an interest in substance use and addiction research. In February, we were informed that that program is canceled. If this gutting of the NIH is allowed to continue, we will lose a generation of scientists. And so I spend my sleepless nights wondering, will I be next? Will I receive the letter tomorrow instructing me to shut down my research? Will they cut the indirect funds that help our institution maintain lab spaces and administrative services that are essential for our work? Will they cut Medicaid dollars, causing a cascading effect that will wipe out the entire research institution? And mostly I worry, how do I protect my team? I work with the best people. They are smart, they are dedicated, they are kind. They're the kind of people that you want your own children to grow up to be like. People who work hard and do the right thing and care about others. At my institution, we've been encouraged to keep focusing on our research, but there's also anticipation that the coming weeks will bring more and more research that is shut down. Research studies will be shut down and trainees and postdoc scientists will lose their funding. But for today, we keep working because we believe in science and we believe everyone should have the opportunity to attain their full potential for health and well-being. And so for now, we'll stay the course. But we need your support. We need people to speak up. So today I'm asking you to reach out to your representatives and tell them to stop gutting the NIH. Truly, countless lives depend on it. Thank you. Thank you. So now I'm going to hand things over to Catherine Duffy.
And I'm just going to pop in to say the bit.ly links are case specific. So if your link didn't work for you, make sure you use the capital letters or lowercase letters in any bit.ly link. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Duffy. In 2020, my husband and I founded an organization called the Garden for All. I'm going to add here that the Garden for All, in its capacity as a nonprofit, neither supports nor opposes specific candidates, elected officials, or policies. I'm here to tell our story, and my remarks are my own. So I like to tell people that we accidentally started a nonprofit, but the truth is, like a lot of people, we were very distressed about the economic impacts at the start of the pandemic and the ways that it was having a negative effect on the community that we lived in. So that summer of 2020, we planted a couple of small garden rows. We tended them ourselves, and in our first year, we grew 750 pounds of produce, and we brought it to the 2 food pantries. Thank you. to the 2 food pantries that were closest to us geographically. 5 years later, the Garden for All has expanded. Me, my husband, and a couple of our friends. Now we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have multiple staff, and we've now expanded onto growing over 3 acres of land. In 2024, we grew tens of thousands of organic produce. When we reach our full potential, we estimate that our production will be around the 125,000 pound range. And we also grow year-round because hunger does not stop in winter. And here's the thing. 100% of what we grow goes directly to food pantries in Central Ohio. Grin, New Albany Food Pantry, Broad Street Presbyterian Church Food Pantry, Marthaful, and on and on and on. 3 counties we serve. So why am I telling you fine people who have taken your Saturday afternoon to be here to rally for the future of our country? So as our food production operation at the Garden for All has grown and transformed, so has our budget. And here's where we're going to get into the acronyms, but I know you all can hang with me on this. So in 2023, the USDA had a program called the Local Food Purchase Assistance Program, LFPA. And what that program did was it allocated funds to farmers across the country to get fresh, healthy, nutritious foods into places where those things are hard to come by. So think schools, food pantries, direct feeding organizations, and so on. So an organization called the Ohio Association of Food Banks, OAF, received a portion of this LFPA money, and they created a program called Ohio Community Agriculture Network, Ohio CAN. Cute, right? So this was for farmers to be reimbursed for produce that they brought to food pantries. It's pretty simple. For most farmers in Ohio, this was their excess. So if I'm a farmer and I can't sell it at market, I take what I have left and I take it to a food pantry, and then I get reimbursed through Ohio CAN for that fund. It's a win-win, right? Farmers sell their produce, food pantries get food. Now for the Garden for All, we have no excess. 100% of what we grow goes to food pantries. So we were thrilled to be accepted as a participating farm in Ohio CAN. Being reimbursed for our produce through the CAN program helped us hire more growing staff, it helped us expand our growing operations, and it helped us grow and donate more produce to the pantries. In October 2024, we received the excellent news that the USDA had awarded an additional $500 million to extend the LFPA program through 2025 and beyond, including to Ohio CAN. So the Garden for All, along with all the other participating farmers, we created our 2025 budgets based on those projections, including the CAN revenue. That means all of our staff, all of the crops we've planted, all of the equipment that we've purchased. And you probably know where this is going. On March 7th of this year, the Ohio Association of Food Banks regrettably let us know that the USDA had backed out of its commitment for funding the local food assistance program. Yes, thank you. The Ohio CAN program will receive nothing, nor will its intended recipients, like the Garden for All, and all of the other farmers across Ohio who were planning on that money to make their operations go forward and who were going to take their excess produce to food pantries. I'm sure that you all know that farming is an incredibly lean operation. Any cut to funding, especially an unexpected one, limits our capacity to operate. Every dollar that our organization doesn't have is produce that we don't grow and food that doesn't go to food pantries. So now, as far as the Garden for All is concerned, either we revise downward our revenue projections and our food production goals, or, more difficult, we then have to try to raise the additional money that we lost just to get back to our baseline. And if you zoom out, and look at the large-scale human effects, the result is catastrophic. The farmers that we know, small-scale, local, organic farmers, are scrambling. Like I said, they made their budgets based on commitments that they had. Not only will they not be able to bring produce to food pantries, now they have to find ways to generate income for everything that they're growing. That means seeking out people who are willing and able to buy it just to pay their own bills. And imagine the effects on local food pantries. They can't purchase produce without help. I think about the empty shelves and the empty coolers at the pantries and the long lines of hungry people. And then you add to that a proposed $15 million cut to this state's budget in support of food pantries. You have a lot less food on pantry shelves and a lot more hungry Ohioans. This feels like a good time to tell you, of the 7 paid employees at the Garden for All, I am not one of them, and neither is my husband. Not one single penny have we ever taken from the organization. We pour ourselves into it on top of the other work that we do because we care about hunger and because we love our community. I'm not here because I have something to gain. The Garden for All exists to serve the people of Central Ohio, and we never thought of all the things we'd be up against in our work, that the state and federal governments would become our adversaries, and hungry people and food pantries would suffer, rather than our elected officials being here to serve us, their taxpayers. We held on to hope that our elected officials would honor the commitments to the people that they represent, and that they would remember who they are in office to serve, and that they would bear in mind that our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. The Garden for All will be okay. I know it. We are resilient. We are strong. We have a dedicated staff and dedicated volunteers. But more than that, I know it because we don't exist by permission of the government. Our call is much bigger than that. We will not stop our work until the Spirit tells us to, and now is not that time. So what can you do? So selfishly, I would ask you to visit our website, thegardenforall.org, like and share our social media pages. For small nonprofits, visibility is paramount. It makes a difference. We would love to hear a message of support from anyone who would like to send it. We would also love to have you out to volunteer with us. Beyond that, you can support local farmers who are on the right side of the food system and on the right side of sustainability. You can support your local food pantries who desperately need your help. And more importantly, you can keep telling the people who represent us that it is their job to care about farmers, people who are trying to make their communities better, and hungry people in Ohio and across the whole country, full stop. I am grateful for your time today. Thank you for being willing to hear the story of one small organization. Multiply that by thousands and you will get the scope of the problem. So thank you. I am inspired by your ongoing commitment to democracy and to being a force for good in our country. Thank you.
Meryl, the senators still aren't here yet.
No, they're coming. They're coming. There they are.
Meryl, those are not our senators. Can I get your name?
Beth Liston.
Beth, do you have any experience being a senator?
Yes, I do.
Do you have any experience being a U.S. senator?
No, unfortunately, no.
What's your name?
Elizabeth Ross.
Elizabeth, do you have any experience being a U.S. senator?
No, I have not.
They both have about as much experience as our current senators do then, so they're perfect. This is a nice try, Meryl, but I don't think this is going to work out. So let's give a big round of applause for Elizabeth Ross and Beth Liston, for Senator Beth Liston, for coming up here to help us out.
Oh, that's okay. It's all good. It's all good. No worries. Our next question is really fairly straightforward.
Okay.
It's Trump just signed, as we know, an executive order to eliminate the Department of Education. So folks out here want to know, if that's implemented, what will that mean for Ohio?
Let's see if ChatGPT can avoid answering this one as well.
Okay.
The closure of the Department of Education could severely disrupt critical programs like Pell Grants, Title I funding for low-income students, and special education services for children with disabilities in Ohio. Without a central federal agency overseeing these programs, there may be delays and confusion in distributing funds, affecting access to education for vulnerable students. Local and state systems would need to manage these responsibilities, but the lack of clear federal oversight could create gaps in services, particularly in underfunded or rural districts. This may lead to inconsistencies in educational quality and access to necessary support, especially for children with disabilities who rely on programs like IDEA to receive a free and appropriate education.
ChatGPT is on a roll. So here's the next question. What will the impact be on Ohio veterans due to planned cuts to the VA?
Planned cuts to the VA could have a major impact on Ohio's veterans, who number over 720,000, with nearly 400,000 depending on VA healthcare. These reductions may lead to fewer healthcare providers at VA facilities, resulting in longer wait times for appointments and treatments. Mental health services, which are already stretched thin, could face further reductions in staffing and resources, making it harder for veterans to get the care they need for PTSD and other service-related issues. Essential programs for homeless veterans and job training might lose funding, complicating veterans' transition to civilian life. Rural veterans who rely on VA-funded transportation and telehealth services may find their access to care severely limited.
That sounds dire, but very accurate.
I know, right? We should let ChatGPT run for office.
It has more credibility than our current senators.
I'm sure that they're just held up in traffic.
But while we're waiting, let's hear more from constituents who wanted to share their stories with the senators. I'd like to introduce retired Major General Dennis Leitch to come to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are there any Vietnam vets in the audience? Right. Welcome home, brother, welcome home. I wasn't going to say this, it wasn't in my prepared remarks, but I listened to this frustration that many of the government employees who are being laid off have. I just want to say that I'm a kind of laid off government employee. I was retired in 2006 and I never signed a retirement paper. Rumsfeld said I had to go. So I'm 76 years old now. I have Parkinson's disease and I have leukemia. In October, I had a brain aneurysm operated on and I had a heart attack in January. But here's the thing, I don't know how many days or weeks or months or years I have left in this world, but boy, I'm going to praise hell. Sit down, man. Sit down, man. I solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. An oath sworn by all government officials. Unfortunately, many, or most, are ignoring it. And many are in fact, domestic terrorists, domestic threats. I took this oath more than 50 years ago, and I honor it today. Every service member swears and honors it. We're sleepwalking toward fascism and surrendering our democracy. I'm not an expert on fascism, but I can tell you this. I can give you some characteristics of it. One-man rule, an authoritarian dictator, a king, maybe a 5-time draft dodger who's now a chicken hawk. The rule of law is destroyed. Free speech is not permitted. No free and fair elections. A concentration of wealth. Sound familiar? I don't know, I do know a bit about the military and about our veterans. Secretary of Defense Big Pete Hegseth has made a number of pronouncements. He's made changes to our military, none of which make the DoD more efficient or military more lethal. None of them, not a single one. As a matter of fact, he's destroyed our efficiency and depletes the lethality of our military. Let's start with DEI. With regard to DEI, Secretary Hegseth has fired the African-American chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Fired 2 female 4-star admirals. Hey, it gets better. He took down the Tuskegee Airmen, an African-American Medal of Honor winner, and Jackie Robinson being removed from DoD web pages. He stated that women should not be in combat roles. Tell that to Senator Tammy Duckworth. 24% of our military today is made up of women. Our all-volunteer military doesn't work without women. I had the pleasure of having a number of my subordinate commanders be women, and they just did a hell of a job. Now here's the thing: with all these actions taken, do you detect a pattern here? Why would a woman or a female or an African American citizen volunteer to serve in a Hegseth-led military? Why would he do it? Why would he or she do it? To be a second-class citizen? Finally, this is the word. This is the one that gets me. Finally, he deleted the Native American Code Talkers webpage from DoD website. Come on, man, the Code Talkers, the Indians. He also discredited. Let me continue. He has also discredited the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which serves as the foundation of our military culture by advocating for pardons of U.S. war criminals, people convicted of war crimes on behalf of you, our country. It's also a chilling misuse of our military power proposed. Panama and Greenland, two allies. Even I'll get to that. Two more alarming. Gaza. We would help. He would propose that we would help. We're going to help. He would propose that we would help the Israeli military escort 2.3 million Palestinians out of their homeland, who don't want to leave and who want to put them someplace where they're not welcome. Doesn't make any sense at all. Here's the one that's worse, though. We could very well have American citizens, young soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, be deployed to deport their fellow workers. For the community care, say it is, but here's the thing, and this has been referred to already. Private care appointment wait times would probably be transparent. They're not. They'd be publicly transparent, but they're not. Every vet seeking community care for PTSD and depression would be offered the option, if desired, of evidence-based psychotherapy. They are not. Private providers would undergo mandatory training in veteran-specific conditions like toxic exposure and PTSD. They're not. Private providers would have annual screenings for suicide, PTSD, substance abuse, depression. They don't. A post-mortem issue brief would be conducted whenever a veteran in private care dies by suicide. It is not. We have 22 veterans a day dying of suicide. 22 a day. I'm reminded of this by a poem by Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling said 100 years ago that God and soldiers we adore, in times of danger, not before. When danger's past and things are righted, God's forgotten and soldiers slighted. I want to tell you, Rudyard, nothing's happened and nothing's changed in the last 100 years. In closing, I'd like to share with you three vignettes that are seared into my mind. The first one is that the last time I was in Iraq, I pinned a Purple Heart on a pillowcase of a soldier who was dying of burns over most of his body. Bent down, whispered in his ear, "You're going to be all right, soldier," and he nodded. I knew it was a lie. He died that night. Second one was that I was at Walter Reed Hospital. I held the hand of one of my soldiers who had lost a leg. Sat there and I stood there and I held his hand and I looked at his wife and his two young children and I thought, what's going to happen with their lives? What happens with their lives as they've sacrificed so much? I've had the obligation to kneel beside grave at the military funeral and looked in the eye of a sobbing spouse or parent, handed them a tightly folded flag and said, on behalf of a grateful nation. Those are things that are seared in my mind. None of those soldiers, nor the millions who served in our military, sacrificed and died to support fascism. They sacrificed and died honoring their oaths in defense of democracy. I'm proud to stand with them. Now I'm asking you today, will you stand with me? Will you stand against fascism? Will you stand for democracy? Move out and draw fire. I lost my place here.
That's all right, General.
Hey, I just want to introduce, Mike Carey's not here today, but I want to introduce his replacement. In 2026, we'll all have the chance, many of us will have a chance to vote for Adam Miller for Congress in his 15th district.
Thank you, General. Thank you, General. You know, what a powerful speech and presentation by a real leader today. Thank you, General Leach. Thank you. I asked the organizers and the General if I could say a few words on behalf of so many of the recent service members, Iraq and Afghanistan vets, and for so many military spouses like my wife who had less than a week to prepare to go overseas with a young child on the way and had to cover all that with friends, family. I could show you the texts that I have from so many of my fellow brigade commanders, division commanders, leaders in the JAG Corps who are very, very deeply concerned about the direction of our country right now. And I will say, General, I have a little bit of news. I understand that Mr. Carey is watching right now. So I'm gonna speak to my friend. Mike, thank you for watching. Yes, it was us, the AFL-CIO leadership, and other constituents who were outside your office on Monday. I'm sorry we missed you. I know it was good to see you in our building on Tuesday morning. I guess I didn't get an invite to the fundraiser, but I was pleased to see you. Nevertheless, good to see you getting out, talking to some. Senator Sherrod Brown, in a bipartisan way, did more for all veterans in that one piece of legislation than anybody's done in years. And people ask us in the Veterans Caucus, do you ever agree on anything? You and the Republicans, do you ever agree? I say, actually, we often find we agree on military service, military families, and veterans benefits, and we really push hard. So when I saw Sherrod Brown get the PACT Act across the finish line so that all of us who'd been exposed to carcinogens, toxic things, and the World War II vets whose kids everybody has been covered by the PACT Act. And then when I saw the record, the House Congressional record, I have it here if you want to see it after our event, and see that Kerry on the Ways and Means Committee voted to underfund it. I just can't do that. You can't do that. And when I think that if John and my other friend were here today, Bernie, I would say to hold the Senate seat that was held by Senator John Glenn, we expect more in Ohio. We expect more. So let's look, Mike, I know you always tell me, hey, I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. I'm going to make things happen. It's quiet. You'll see it. Okay, great. Show us your heart. The National Defense Authorization Act is coming up for a vote in a couple months. Put the PACT Act funding in the bill so veterans get what they are promised. That's one. Number two, restore funding for helmets to hard hats. Ohio is one of the heavy states. We have one of the largest National Guards in the country, 45,000 strong. Our reserve, another 25,000 strong. 70,000 soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marine in uniform. We do the heavy lifting overseas. It doesn't go without Ohio's troops. We do that. And so many service members have been told, don't worry, we're gonna get you trained, we're gonna get you ready. You go over there, you get extended. We signed up for it, we understand, but we need that soft landing when we come back. We need that counseling. We need that restorative care. And to know that there was a program, bipartisan program. Senator Robert Dole supported this program. This is bipartisan so that folks can come out of their military job directly into construction, into education, into so many careers, and be successful. We need that funding for the helmets to hard hats restored. Last thing, Mike, this is the easy one. You have to meet with people who want to meet with you. You have to meet with, and let's start with people, and listen, I credit Mike for his military service. Meet with the DAV reps. Meet with the American Legion. Meet with the VFW. Meet with the mill vets. Talk to the people in Chillicothe. They're wondering why is that facility going to be closed? There's no other place to go in rural Ohio for VA care. You can't close VAs. Keep the VAs open. All I would say is you're on one of those key committees. You've got the National Defense Authorization Act. You've got the STAR Act, an easy one. Why are we taking money out of veterans' pockets because they've also got a combat disability and earn that pay? End concurrent receipt now. Pay the veterans what they've deserved. It's not enough to be a co-sponsor. I hear it all the time. Well, there are 400 co-sponsors. Talk to the legislators on this stage who know how to get things done. Representative Piccolantonio and Rep. Somani who can get things passed. We want results. So it's really easy. It's really easy. Create ways to hear from us, your constituents, because if you can't do that, if you won't do it, you'll hear from us in 591 days. Thank you. I'd like to call Bailey Culp up to read a statement. Bailey?
Good afternoon. My name is Bailey Culp. I'll be reading a statement from a federal worker who... Do you have to talk real loud? Sorry about that. I'll be reading a statement from a federal employee who, given the time, would like to remain nameless. Of all the uncertainty I was sure would follow after the outcome of the election on November 5th, 2024, my protections as a federal employee were not on the list of worries. There was rhetoric regarding reducing the size and scope of the federal government. Efforts would be taken to make these policies a reality, but the speed and the veracity of what has unfolded thus far has outpaced what many of us thought was possible. There is a narrative currently attempting to portray federal employees as lazy and undeserving of the paychecks that they collect. Nothing could be further from the truth. Firstly, I would say the federal workforce may be the only group that helps fund its own salary through taxes. Federal employees work hard to help provide services that all Americans rely on and to a degree take for granted. As a government, we should always be looking to improve and innovate. We should always be striving towards making the government work better for the people it serves, and as part of that process, constantly evaluate what we do and don't need within the government. Unfortunately, the current approach to this valuable process has been without any regard for the downstream consequences. Honestly, it has just been cruel. I have reviewed the VA organizational chart, and nowhere to be found is a ketamine-laced, social media addle-minded billionaire. The current methods of cutting staff, administrative or direct patient care will end up negatively impacting the care of our veterans receive and deserve. The people driving these cuts will attempt to distance themselves from this. It is important that we, everyone in this room, highlight this and not allow them to skulk away from the damage that they create. This may bring me to my biggest concern moving forward. When faced with challenging times, we look towards our leaders to guide us and provide direction. We look to them to help protect us and shepherd us through uncertainty. When a bully comes to take our lunch money, our leaders are the people that put an end to it. And if they don't, it will come as no surprise to anyone that the bully will come back. Likely out of fear of reprisal, many of our organizational leaders have acquiesced. Tell them 5 things you did last week and think about it as highlighting the value you bring. We complete yearly performance evaluations to demonstrate our value. If our agency leaders are unable or unwilling to meet the leadership standards needed in this moment, they should find new work. Employers and employees enter into a contract of mutual respect and protections upon hire. I believe this encompasses a willingness to engage in respectful defiance of such requests that harm overall institutional integrity. I have worked at the Chillicothe VA Medical Center for the last 3 years. In my time spent in Chillicothe, it has become evident how much the community of Southeastern Ohio cherishes and values the VA being a part of it. It provides stable, well-paying jobs to a region that desperately needs them. It is an integral part of the healthcare system. Without the VA, the regional hospitals would struggle to meet the demand, ultimately leading to worse health outcomes for our veterans. Dismantling the Chillicothe VA would instill irreparable harm into the Southeastern Ohio region. It is paramount that we, as citizens, employees, veterans, a society, recognize the danger of the time that we live in. In times of adversity, people show their truest selves. It is our turn to show that patriotism and freedom is not quantified by the number of flags that we wave, the number of guns we own, or red ball caps that we wear. Instead, we choose to show our devotion to America through hard work, compassion, and occasionally, yes, burning a hideous electric vehicle. Thank you.
As your senator, I promise to listen to all of my constituents' concerns, and by constituents, I mean those on my donor list, of course.
And I vow to stand by my values, assuming they align with those of my campaign donors. The senators really aren't coming, are they?
No, you were right. But we still have so many unanswered questions from everyone out there. I don't know what to do, but I guess I'll just ask one more at least for ChatGPT. Help me out, because this one was on a lot of people's minds. We know some Republican senators, including our own missing Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, have committed not to cut Medicaid. But won't the House-passed budget bill require such cuts? And if that goes forward, what will the impact be on Ohio?
While some senators have vowed to protect Medicaid, the House-passed budget includes significant reductions that could indirectly lead to cuts in Medicaid funding. Ohio has over 3.2 million residents enrolled in Medicaid, with a significant portion being children, seniors, and low-income individuals. If these cuts take effect, Ohio could experience reduced Medicaid reimbursements for hospitals, which may lead to closures of rural medical centers and a decrease in available healthcare services. Additionally, changes to Medicaid eligibility, such as implementing work requirements, could further reduce access for vulnerable populations, exacerbating the impact on healthcare availability in the state.
Okay. Well, once again, let's hear from someone who is waiting for real answers from our senators. Norm Warnett, who is from the Ohio Alliance for Retired Americans.
Good afternoon. I'm Norm Warnett. I'm president of the Ohio Alliance for Retired Americans. We're the retirees of the greater labor movement throughout Ohio. Let me just say this. We're the old boomer geezers that former member of Congress Alan Simpson pointed out a number of years ago trying to get rid of Social Security and Medicare. But we're using our earned Social Security and Medicare as income and health coverage. It's what we have to do. Let's just remember one thing. Medicare and Medicaid were created 60 years ago this July 30th because the private sector would not create coverage for us as older Americans. I don't know how many of you are on Medicare. I am. All right. How many of you have somebody in a nursing home? You know somebody in a nursing home. 62% of all the Ohioans who are in a nursing home are using Medicaid. That means they've depleted all of their assets. They live on very little income. They are only allowed to keep about $50. That's because of the way we set up. We don't have long-term care really established. There are folks and there are forces, two of our members of the legislature are here, are part of that caucus to try and build out long-term care. That's what Medicare with Medicaid is about in many instances for us. But Medicaid is much more than that. Here's the story. We have a son. He was in his late 30s. He has a master's degree. He's a zoologist. He's an evolutionary biologist, but without enough work. Something about that word evolution is not acceptable for work in this state. We noticed a spot on his leg when he was home for dinner one evening. It would not heal. So he went to the doctor. Turns out it was a melanoma. It wasn't shallow like they originally thought, it was deep. So he sought treatment. With most of a decade of treatment and follow-up, and a second melanoma on his neck, from here to here, he's healthy. The only reason he's alive, and we are not bankrupt as a family, is because of Medicaid expansion. The Medicaid expansion waiver covered his diagnosis, treatment, and made him healthy again. Medicaid expansion is at risk very plainly in this proposal sitting in front of the Congress, and with the taking apart of our health systems. Remember, we created those systems. We created Medicaid because there is not just long-term care, but there is not a unified health system and a payment that covers everybody in this country. The Affordable Care Act made great strides in that vicinity. But this taking away of money of Medicaid in this state would do devastation. Think about it this way. The older population that's in nursing homes is only 17% of the Medicaid population, but we use 49% of the money. Women and children and families are 53% of the population, but only 23% of the expenditures. The expansion population is like 23, 24% and uses about 23, 24% of the money. Think about what that means. Do you have to have an extra bed in your house for someone who's in a nursing home? I doubt it. What happens when your wife has dementia and it grows and grows and grows? What happens? We don't have a long-term system to meet that. Medicaid is our backup system. Cutting Medicaid means grandma and grandpa are going to be out of the nursing home. I was raised in Indiana, in a little town called Vincennes. And I just learned that they just tore down, within the last year, they just tore down the poor folks farm. I remember that. At 80 years old, people were out in the back of that grand architectural thing that they all wanted to save. They were tending the fields to feed themselves because they didn't have any income to be able to survive. They didn't have a long-term care system. They shut that down in 1974, but they didn't tear it down until 2024. Maybe they were saving it for the reinstitution of the poor folks farm. Long and the short of this is that Medicaid is here for us because we built that system. We, the people of the United States, said in 1965, it's time to create Medicare and Medicaid for us. We did that. We had the Congress to do that. It's become our way of life. It is now time to make sure that that stays in our lives. I'm now going to introduce Anita Samani and Beryl Piccolo-Antonio, who are from our General Assembly. Thank you very much.
I think ChatGPT and our previous speaker just gave my talk for me. So I just want to thank first of all, thank the audience for coming here and listening to all of us speak, as well as all of the speakers before us who have really emphasized the dangers of what's happening in America. Exactly. So, for those of you who don't know, my name is Anita Samani. I'm a practicing OBGYN and also a state representative. We are here not just to protect our transgender kids, but to protect our families, our parents, our aunts and uncles, everybody that depends on the government resources that you've heard about today. Medicaid is not just another government program. It's a lifeline. It's a safety net. Without it, people will die. But today, Medicaid is under threat, not only at the national level, but also here in Ohio. Why is that? Because our state budget is dependent on what the federal budget gives us. So these are not just numbers on a piece of paper. These are real lives. These are real people that will be impacted. You heard about Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion, if it is cut, there is a trigger bill in our budget that would cut Medicaid expansion. Not just cut it, but it says it must be cut. We're looking to change that language in the budget to say it may be cut. And that's something you all can do. You can call the State House, call the Speaker of the House. If you have friends in rural areas, tell them, do not let that trigger happen. Do not let Medicaid expansion get cut in Ohio. It'll affect close to 800,000 people who will lose their insurance because of those cuts. That doesn't even count all of the women, the children that will be affected. 1 out of 3 kids in Ohio uses Medicaid for their insurance. Over half of our prenatal care deliveries in Ohio are funded by Medicaid. So when you look at our infant and maternal mortality rates, that is a result of the poor coverage, the poor access to care, and the cuts that we are seeing at the State House. So imagine how much worse it will be if these cuts go through. So what are the other things that we heard about? Work requirements. Work requirements don't help anybody. I see patients every day working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, whose jobs don't offer insurance or offer high-cost deductibles. I don't know many people that have $1,000 or $3,000 deductibles sitting around that can pay for their health care out of pocket. So that's one of the biggest issues. What about strains on hospitals and clinics? Most of our rural hospitals are supported by Medicaid. Those hospitals will be impacted and will be forced to close. What happens to our rural areas? They become deserts. They become deserts for care. The VA closing in Chillicothe would be devastating, but other hospitals have already closed, have stopped offering maternity care. Those things are real lives and real people. Increased financial burden. You heard about that in terms of nursing homes. Nursing homes are funded by Medicaid also, and that's another area where that financial burden will fall on families. So we really, really need to look at this, not just everything else people have talked about, but just the cost of losing health care for 1 out of 3 children, for over half of our pregnant women. All of that will be affected. So it's not about dollars and cents. What we need to ask is, do we believe in an America that supports all of us or that just supports billionaires? Do we believe that everyone deserves access to health care? Do we believe that we should have universal health care? Medicare is a form of universal health care coverage. When people are on Medicare, their outcomes are better, their access to physicians are better, and their ability to pay for their medications are better. But what is happening under this current administration is everything that Biden did is being rolled back. Insulin costs are going up. Medications that were designed to be low cost under the last administration are being taken away. So again, Medicare is a form of universal health care, and we need to work on that. We are one of the few developed countries that does not have universal health care. It's not hard, folks. It's taking money from insurance companies and giving it back to people. So what can you all do? You've been so patiently listening, and you've been hearing about the federal level. We've been trying to talk to our senators. I don't know about you all, but I kept getting voicemails every time I called. Yeah. So if you all talk to 5 people, as Sherrod Brown says, talk to 5 people about what you heard today. Call the State House. Politics are local. Politics are things that are happening at the national level started at the state level. Here in Ohio, we have our own Doge caucus, for those of you who aren't aware. We are not members. And everybody here today is here because they want to make a difference. And I want to share the stage, so I'm going to turn this over to my state representative, Burl Brown Pickle Antonio, to talk about the education piece.
Thanks, Dr. Samani. So my name's Burl Brown Pickle Antonio. I am proudly the state representative for House District 4. I see a lot of you out there who live in Gahanna and Westerville, New Albany area. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the organizers for putting this together. What I'm going to try to do is, just from a big picture perspective, connect some of the things that we've talked about to what goes on at the state and local levels. I'll talk about where we are. By design, there is chaos that is making us feel paralyzed and unable to do anything, and it is really, really important in all of that chaos that we find the things that we're comfortable doing and pay attention and do those things. Because if there are all of us working together, all of us working together on the things that we feel like we can do, they will not be able to paralyze us.
And they're counting on that.
They are counting on that. So how is everything that happens at the federal level connected to what happens at the state level? So we heard a little bit about the state budget process. We're still kind of in the beginning of the state budget process right now. So every 2 years, we pass several budgets, one of them being the main operating budget. And the way that we started going through the budget process this year was with an executive order that was issued on this president's first day in office that injected chaos into our state budget process. And why that is that approximately 30% of our state budget is dependent on federal dollars. So the executive order was issued January 20th. On January 27th, the Federal Office of Management and Budget issued a memo that you may have heard about that left all of our social service agencies uncertain of federal dollars that would be flowing to them, because the memo said that all of the federal agencies had to do a comprehensive assessment of federal dollars in order to ensure alignment with the priority and policy of the administration. This memo was illegal, just to be clear, among a number of illegal and improper executive branch overreach actions that this administration has taken. There were lawsuits that were filed. Ultimately, the memo was rescinded, but it had an immediate and chaotic impact on how we were going to navigate through the state budget. We spent a week at the beginning of the budget process unsure about whether or not 30% of those dollars were going to be there. To put state spending in some context for you, the largest portion of the state operating budget is Medicaid. The second largest part of the state budget spending is primary and secondary education. And the fourth largest portion of the state budget is higher education. I'm actually gonna cut short some of what I was going to say about the U.S. Department of Education, because honestly, it would take a lot more than 5 minutes to get through everything that I would like to say about U.S. Department of Education. But you may know that this week, the president signed an executive order with the stated goal of dismantling the United States Department of Education. From my perspective, it is unconscionable. If you don't know all of the things that the United States Department of Education does, I'll tell you just a few of those things. The U.S. Department of Education is responsible for enforcing compliance with laws related to discrimination in education. They administer the funds for all students who have disabilities. They administer supplemental funding to school districts with high percentage of low-income families and for students who are English language learners. And they also oversee the federal student loan portfolio. What does that actually mean? So Columbus City Schools, for example, has 46,000 students who attend. For Title I funds, so the kind of funds that are attached to students from low-income families and English language learners, that equates to, gosh, that number is so big, it's 51,474,000 in federal funds from Title I alone. 17 of Central Ohio's primary public school districts received nearly $53.5 million in IDEA funding in 2024. And 13 of our public universities received nearly $1 billion in federal funds from the Department of Education. So the dismantling of the United States Department of Education puts all of those things at risk. Yesterday, you may have also heard, and honestly, I'm not sure if this came in a tweet or by something that was actually said, but the president announced that the management of the student loan portfolio and programs for students with disabilities will be moved to other federal agencies. Yeah, I'm getting there. So just to be clear, the federal student loan portfolio is a $1.6 portfolio. There's 43 million borrowers. And what the president said is that that will move to the Small Business Administration. On the same day, the Small Business Administration announced that they will be cutting their staff by over 40%. And as far as some of our most vulnerable students go, our students who have disabilities, the president has said that, quote, Bobby Kennedy from Health and Human Services will be handling special needs. I don't know how you feel. I mean, I can hear how you feel about that. I don't feel very good about that. And that, like I said, that just scratches the surface of everything that has gone on related to education. I want to be respectful of your time and everybody else's time, so I do want to give you some specific action items that you can take. One of those action items, I don't know if you heard, but our governor actually was with the president for the signing of the executive order related to the U.S. Department of Education. So one of your action items is to please contact our governor and let him know what you think about that. I would also ask you, we've heard a lot from a lot of you, but please don't let up. Keep contacting your state elected representatives and state senators. We need you to demand that we continue to phase in the Fair School Funding Plan. We need you to demand that we prioritize funding for students with disabilities and students from low-income families. This is sad that I'm asking you to demand this of us, but we need you to demand that we feed children so that they can learn. And then I've got a couple other asks, but over the next couple weeks, please also call the state senators and your governor and ask your state senators to vote no on Senate Bill 1 and ask the governor to veto Senate Bill 1. You've already heard about everything that you need to be doing, that we ask you to do in reaching out to the federal government, but I'm going to leave you with one more ask. And the last ask that I have of you, so next year is a local election year. And I know that local elections don't get the kind of media coverage that our federal government gets. But my last ask of you is to please, please, please pay attention and help where you can with our local elections next year. We've got school board members up for election, city council members up for election, township trustees up for election. These seats, these positions are critically important in determining how what happens at the federal and the state level will impact your local community.
One last thing, and I think you've heard the common thread today. America is a land of opportunity for all of us. Let's not create a place where billionaires succeed and everybody else is left with scraps. Let's get out there and fight for democracy, fight for a society that's just.
Thank you to public servants who believe in public service. That's what the job is, right? Okay, we are just about to end, folks. Don't worry, I am like the last person. And Jason, if we go to the next slide. Okay. Well, we are trying right now. Can you move to the next slide? Can you move to the next slide? Thank you. So, sorry. So I just want to make sure everybody's here. We are trying our hardest to give you things to do. I want to make sure before you leave that you are signed up, that you know about this supporting veterans rally, that you know about going to Mike Carey's office, you know about the rally on March 5th. If you want to go to the next slide, you know about the 5 Calls app where you can actually contact your federal representatives. You know about how things work at the State House so you can be in contact with your local representatives. Please go to our website. Please make sure that you take action. Don't leave here today without having committed yourself to doing something else. And Jason's going to come up from AFL-CIO and tell you about something you can do right now.
How is my fighting 99% doing? Look, we in the labor movement don't have all the answers, but one thing we know how to do is take on shitty bosses. And right now, we have a shitty scabber and Donald Trump who crossed the IATSE picket line for his canceled TV show, and we got a union-busting shitty boss and Elon Musk who lost his fight at the National Labor Relations Board, and we know that when we stand in solidarity, when workers stand together, when we don't allow bosses to divide us on who we love, on how we look, on whatever it is about us, that we will win in the end. So what we can do is stand together and fight. And what we've been doing every Saturday from 4:30 to 5:30 is going to the Tesla dealership at Easton and making sure Elon Musk continues to lose billions and billions of dollars because we won't allow him to get away with what he's doing. So we need you today to leave here and follow us to Easton, to stand up to Elon Musk and the billionaires and tell them enough is enough. Nobody elected Elon Musk, and the 99% is bigger than the 1%. And the last thing I will say is I am sick and tired of those in red hats who would bend and kiss the ring of the crown if this was 1776 to match their red coat to tell us that we are not patriots. So before we get going, I am going to lead you in a chant to get you in the spirit when you get to Easton. So we heard Mia chant earlier, tell us what democracy looked like. I want to know, tell me what a patriot looks like. Tell me what a patriot looks like.
This is what a patriot looks like.
Tell me what a patriot looks like.
This is what a patriot looks like.
Tell me what a patriot looks like.
This is what a patriot looks like.
Now let's go out to Tesla and make sure every American knows what a patriot looks like.
Thank you guys so much. If you have postcards, you can drop them in baskets that are going to be up there. If you want to drop a couple of bucks in one of the jars, we appreciate that. We invited the press today. I think only one person came. If you're a Dispatch subscriber, you can contact them and tell them you're a little disappointed that they didn't send anybody. Thank you, everybody.